All right, so we're here back at it again, Anthony. We got Anthony here. We got
DeAndre here.
And we're going to get into it. First topic on the board: top 5 black shows from the 90s. Top 5 in no particular order. I think we came up with Fresh Prince, Martin, Moesha, Living Single, and Wayne's Brothers, and Jamie Foxx.
Yeah.
Is that 5?
That's a little more. A little bit more than
Did I
5.
Okay, so just say our top black shows from the 90s.
And that's just to let you know that we had a lot.
Yeah, we really had to think about this.
Yeah.
Okay, so in no particular order, but let's start with Fresh Prince.
Yeah.
So with Fresh Prince, I think like the biggest theme I think you were saying was fish out of water, staying true to yourself, right?
Yeah. So you have Will, right, coming from Philly, coming to the West Coast to be with his family.
Yeah, definitely. His extended family.
Family
right.
that he's not even really close to.
Right, right.
People don't even realize that. Like, Will's not really close to this side of the family.
No, he wasn't.
So this was kind of a big thing for him to come out here to
right,
LA.
and he was struggling with his identity too, because remember the first episode, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end, Uncle Phil was like, "Look, I don't want to hear your story. I've heard your story, and the very thought of it makes me tired."
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And that was after he like acted a fool at the dinner, right?
Yeah.
But then the camera closed up on him when he was on the piano. Do you remember that scene? And he was just like playing the piano, and Uncle Phil saw him, and he's just sitting there, or he's standing there quietly, and it's just like, okay, you have this guy who's struggling with his, hoodness, right?
Yeah.
But he's smart.
Yeah.
And he knows that he can't maintain that forever.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
like that first episode and that scene alone, it lets you know, okay, this show is gonna be about duality of identity.
Well, did you ever hear that Will said that, I always took this from that show. There was such good acting on that show.
Yeah, and he was he was actually the least experienced and least, in his words at the time, least talented actor.
Because they're all classically trained
actors.
and
I saw that Breakfast Club interview.
Yeah. But I didn't know that.
No, yeah, but you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Well, for us, because when we were growing up, we knew Will Smith the actor, not the rapper.
Not the rapper, yeah.
We knew Will Smith the actor, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But when he first started the show, he was Will Smith the rapper, trying to be the actor. Because Uncle Phil was, he'd done movies, he'd done shows. He came from theater.
Theater background.
He did the voice of Shredder from the Ninja Turtles, and he did a bunch of other stuff. And I'm not doing him service. I'm not doing him
such a good
justice.
Actor, man.
Yeah.
One of the best. You can't even say just best black actors.
No, he was a solid actor because of his background.
Yeah.
Carlton, or Alfonso Ribeiro.
Oh, he was in Michael Jackson
commercials. Yeah, he was doing it all. He was again classically trained.
He was the
singer,
star.
Yeah,
he was the child
right.
Star, for sure.
And then everybody else on the show came from background. Came from acting.
Yeah.
Jeffrey, he was another classically trained actor from
London.
the UK. Yeah. So I mean, there was a lot of talent on that show before the show really blew up.
Yeah.
Right, so we talk about extended families. Will coming from Philly to live with his family.
And you talk about like struggling with identity. You remember that one of the best representations of that is when he's going to that prep school and everybody's wearing the uniforms. And then what does he do?
He turns it inside out. Yeah.
So he can stand out.
But it still looked dope though. It really looked
really
fresh
did.
when he
It
did
really
it,
did.
right?
Yeah, it did.
And it looked stylish. And even though like he was struggling with his identity, you see him you see a lot of the older folks at the school like, oh my god, this guy's causing problems.
But look
but
at
all the young people, But that's kind of like symbolic of modern hip hop today, and just like hip hop struggle, because Will Smith again was a hip hop artist, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But older generations never really appreciated or understood hip hop. But today, right, like hip hop is the number one music genre.
Leading the way.
Yeah.
People are
music,
following
film.
suit.
Yeah, it's like J. Cole said in 1985. He said, these white kids, they don't know, like they see you living this lifestyle, and to keep it real, they think that being black is how, what you're doing is how it feels, right?
Yeah.
And they want to be black, and they want to do all this stuff. And you as a rapper have to you have to understand your impact, because all these young white kids, they see it, and that's what they think being black is. That's cool to them. Exactly. And like Will Smith kind of like was epitomizing that when he went to that school, because a lot of these young white kids, they wanted to be him, even though the older established people were like, no, this dude's a problem, right? Like that's hip hop, right? That's forever, I think, going to be hip hop.
And then you have people like Carlton on the show who represented.
Yeah, definitely. The kind of like the bougie, uptight white, whitewashed black person on the show. Yeah,
and he was almost like the foil to Will.
Yeah. Oh, not even almost. Like he definitely was. He was the foil, but he was also still his partner in
his
crime.
ally.
Yeah,
his ally, which is interesting mix.
Yeah, the duality there. Yeah, for sure.
But the one thing I appreciate about Fresh Prince is how it portrayed different perspectives of
the black culture, black experience. Yeah, so there's different walks of life. Yeah, definitely. Will was the troubled youth. Yeah. Right. Carlton was the uptight, again, whitewashed black guy.
Even I didn't even think about this. You even had Jeffrey. They could have easily had any type of race as their butler. They chose to have a black butler. I never thought about that.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
was very.
But I think, and I don't know if they intended this, but Jeffrey in some ways represented the black perspective from outside of the United States.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't think it was that deep. I mean, that's probably me overanalyzing. No,
but I mean, it did. It did, though.
In terms of representation, yeah, for sure.
Because if you think about it, what other show had a black representation, like a main cast member that was black from
outside of the U.S. Yeah, for sure.
States.
Yeah,
so I don't really know too many
at that time. Yeah, for sure. To be honest, we weren't really looking. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, even to this day, we can't really think of any that had that. But again, we gotta respect Jeffrey and all of his side comments, all of his quips, right? Like
Jeffrey would come at you. Man.
Yeah, Jeffrey had that dagger, man. Remember there was an episode Jeffrey said, or Uncle Phil said, "Jeffrey, fetch me my tools," and Jeffrey was like, with a straight face, he said, "What you mean, your knife and your?"
Jeffrey, go fetch my tools. You mean your knife and fork?
Oh my God! Why did he do that? And there's the episode where what did he say? They called the house. It was the episode where Will and Carlton got in trouble. They called the house. They were in prison or in jail. They called the house, and nobody wanted to pick up the phone. So Jeffrey picked up. He's like, "Lazy house." There are so many.
He was always shooting.
Yeah, he was always shooting. He was always ready. Like it was bad. But even then, like going back to the theme of being true to being true to yourself with Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, right? There's themes of just being true to yourself and duality, like with Uncle Phil and Aunt Vivian, right? They were black activists. They were blacktivists, right? Back in it, like there's in that same first episode, Uncle Phil was telling Will, like, I know you have you have the autobiography of Malcolm X. That's cool. I heard the brother speak, right? I was there, right? And he was and then even the episode where that one, their friend who was an activist came back.
The streets just like you. I encountered bigotry you could not imagine. Now, you have a nice poster of Malcolm X on your wall. I heard the brother speak.
Right? And he was and then even the episode where that one, their friend who was an activist came back and started filling Will with ideas of protest. She was like challenging them. She's like, "Oh, you forgot about the struggle, blah 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 blah." And Uncle Phil and Aunt Viv, they're like, what are you talking about? We forgot. We just moved. We just evolved, right? Like Uncle Phil became an attorney, right? A black attorney.
He did it in a different way.
Aunt Vivian, she became an educator at a university. She was at UCLA before they changed it. Remember, they changed it from being UCLA to ULA.
Oh, yeah.
But she was a professor at UCLA, educating people on, I don't know what she talked.
It's interesting how they were still activists, but in a different way. They were doing it from like a different perspective.
They were doing it from within the system. They were changing the system from within, right?
Oh, interesting.
So, I mean, and it's kind of like that typical baby boomer story where, like, okay, they were hippies when they were kids, but then they became adults and kind of they traded in their dashikis for suit and tie.
Definitely.
So we got themes of extended family, staying true to oneself, right? And even being a fish out of water in Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And that's one of the reasons why I list it as one of my top black shows, period.
And then also like bridging the gap between like youth and like culture, because they integrated hip hop and like modern like then the themes, like the comedy themes, they had great comedy too. You can't forget about that,
and the show made you learn without making it feel like an after school special, right? Like it didn't feel boring.
Because you have those shows that like it's a lesson being taught, like, but what's it called? Fresh Prince did that like so subtly.
You didn't. It wasn't like they were banging you over the head with a lesson.
At the end of the episode, you were like, "Damn, I got it."
And I'll be honest. I use some of those episodes, like the mistaken identity episode, where Will and Carlton are arrested for driving a nice car. I use that episode to teach lessons in class. Like that episode. I think that episode should be one of the greatest TV shows, or one of the greatest TV episodes of all time. If you ask me,
rewatch that.
Yeah, because that episode is a powerful teaching tool. Yeah. But it's also hilarious. Like, obviously, it's powerful. You're learning a lot about, social injustice, excessive police force, I guess, police brutality, whatever. But you have that, and it's really deep. It's serious. It's heavy, but it's also hilarious because remember Will is trying to calm Carlton down, and he's like singing that. He's singing a song to Carlton, and the white dude jumps in because he knows the song.
Yeah.
And he sings the song so well, but Will and Carlton are so scared. Will is like, and then Carlton was just crying. Oh my god!
I think I remember that.
But that's the perfect example of how you have an episode that has a lot of conflict.
Yeah,
it gets a lesson across, but also makes you laugh hysterically.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's Will Smith right there. Each black family or each member in the family represents a different perspective of blackness, and even like Hillary, she represented the kind of like
the bougie
Valley girl at the time
from Bel Air,
right. And then Ashley, she represented that kid that like you have the kid whose parents are trying to push her in this one direction for success, but she wants to find her own way.
Well, this is what I got from Ashley is Ashley was very impressionable. Like
yes.
I feel like everybody kind of had Will had an impact on her. Her parents had an impact on her. So I feel like Ashley kind of represented that youth that didn't really know which direction to kind of go in.
And you got to remember, of all the characters on that show, she was the one that we really watched grow up.
Oh yeah, Tatiana Ali.
Yeah, because she was a child and she became a full-grown woman.
And from the first episode, she was good.
Solid. She came with it. Yeah, she really came with it. Yeah, and the chemistry between her and Will, especially. Remember when she got Will's? So you're talking about impressionable, right? Yeah. Remember when she got Will's headphones, Will's Walkman? And she was listening to his music, and she was dancing. Yeah. And Will came in, and he's like, "Oh, okay." Yeah. And he's like imitating her when she dances, and she turns around, she freaks out, and he keeps dancing though. But like that chemistry.
That was the first episode.
That was the first episode. Yeah.
I'm
gonna take a break. I want to see if it's still recording because sometimes it'll fall asleep. Yeah, Fresh Prince, solid. I mean, if you had asked me maybe a year ago, I would have said that it was my number one. But I started watching other shows again because I've been watching. Because I feel like with Fresh Prince, we get beaten over the head with Fresh Prince because it's on so many shows, but you forget about some of the other top tier black shows that were around during the 90s. Because you guys remember when Fresh Prince was coming on. It was around the same time as Martin, but like as Fresh Prince was ending, the Jamie Foxx show was starting. The Wayans brothers were starting, right?
Later 90s.
Yeah, later like 90s. Mid to because Fresh Prince was early to mid 90s. Yeah. Wayans brothers was like mid to late 90s. Yeah. I think Jamie Foxx was kind of the same thing. So from Fresh Prince, I'm going into Martin. I think Martin was Martin was my next list. Again,
there's so much you can say about Martin.
Yeah. There's so much, and again, it's not in any particular order. This is just how it came out. Martin. So we're talking about themes, right? With Martin, I would say one of the themes is following your own dreams, right, and creating your own avenue.
Definitely.
Another thing would be relationship values, right? Like you're talking about friendship, right, and romance and kind of like kind of creating your own family from non-traditional terms, right? Because Martin identified Cole and Tommy as his family. We don't really see Martin's actual family except for his mom, but that was him being dressed up as his mom, right? Like, so you got friendship values, the family you create because they were all friends from childhood.
And also Martin represented, man, like a perspective that a lot of young adults could relate to. Because I feel like Fresh Prince, I mean, Will was how old? He kind of represented that later teenager, and then he kind of grew up
later adolescence,
adolescence, and then you have Martin who came in and we see him as like a young adult with
Right.
a career,
Yeah.
getting a relationship. So it was like all automatically with his friends that we can relate to him. You know, something that we all can relate to. So,
and I think for me, I value Martin even more now because I'm at that phase in his life, and I think I'm about the same age, if not a little older than Martin Lawrence was when he started that show.
Wow.
Like, and when I realized that, I was like, dang, like I'm
30.
Yeah, he was like 30ish, late 20s, early 30s. So like, you got the friendship aspect, right? He's growing up with all these friends, and Martin has Tommy and Cole. They're his childhood friends. And then you have Pam and Gina. Yeah. They have their established relationship. Yeah. I don't know if it was from childhood with Pam and Gina, but you know, they've known each other since at least like college, and you know, since they started their careers.
Yeah.
And you had Martin, who was, at first, he wasn't an entrepreneur. He didn't have his own business, but he was following his dream and laying the foundation. Because remember, he worked for that radio station. What's Up? It was and that's how. What's up? Right? He had that WZUP. He was working for that crooked boss.
Yeah.
But then he got laid off, and then he started his own TV show, his own network. His own TV show, talk show. Yeah. And
so I mean, it just shows how these shows were kind of like already in the forefront of spearheading some of the entrepreneurship that they kind of wanted. Black people weren't really going in that direction, you know.
At that time,
like you really didn't see a lot of shows. I mean, a lot of shows weren't really showing that.
Yeah,
you had shows like the Cosby Show that had established careers and stuff, but you really didn't have a showcasing until you get to the Wayans brothers.
Yeah, or like So I mean,
showcasing the entrepreneurship, like
like Martin, or even the Wayans brothers.
Yeah.
With Martin, there was also the romance and love aspect. We didn't even touch on that, right? Like the way that you showed Martin showed that you can be young, have romance, and not give up yourself. You don't have to be boring, right?
Yeah.
Like it wasn't like refined and idealistic on a pedestal, kind of like
they showed the real stuff.
Yeah, like they showed them fighting. Yeah. They showed Martin like really struggling. Like Martin was really struggling with being, living that whole life.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Versus being in a relationship.
Do you remember this one episode where Martin was he was starting to feel like Gina was starting to like take over his life? And
I was watching that episode this past weekend. Yeah, like
he started like taking over. Like, he tried to like start being the man in the relationship, wearing the pants.
But it's so realistic because I think a lot of us young men, because we don't know how to deal with our emotions.
Yeah.
When we have a woman, or if we get that inkling of, okay, maybe I might like this girl. Yeah. We think, oh, wait a minute. I'm a man. Like, I gotta be man. She's making me soft.
Yeah,
she's making
exactly.
me express myself. Like Martin was really struggling with that. And when Gina really like made him like grow up and make that decision, she was like, look, you either you choose me or you let me go. Right? And Martin, first he made that BS proposal to her. She wasn't having it. She left, and then he realized, like, look, I can't lose this girl.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And for me, like, being at that age, I'm like, wow, like, love doesn't have to be corny.
No,
it doesn't have to be painful. Like, Martin and Gina, they would fight, make up, but it was funny. Like, you enjoyed it. You see them like, hey, like this.
And it was real. That's the thing. It just felt real, and I just felt like people can relate to that, so.
They were so childish. That's one of the things I loved about their relationship. It was childish. It was fun, and all that really, is what it kind of makes their real life relationship pretty depressing.
Yeah.
Because when you realize, like, Martin and Gina kind of weren't getting along, especially towards the last season, you realize in the fifth season they never filmed each other.
They never filmed. They weren't in the same scene together.
They weren't in the same room together.
Yeah,
they weren't in the same scene.
Yeah.
So like, it's kind of sad. I think they worked it out now.
Yeah.
But that was kind of painful.
And that's unfortunate that they had to go through that, because that show, it was only on for five seasons.
Yeah, it had over 100 episodes.
100 episodes, but it could have went on for a lot longer if they would have. You know how long that show? At least another 5 seasons.
And that was back when TV shows had an average of like 20 episodes.
Yeah.
You don't really have that with a lot of these shows, especially like a lot of these big budget HBO shows, like. Game of Thrones or whatever. They're only like 13 episodes a season now.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah. One of my favorite shows currently. I mean, we're focusing on black shows from the 90s, but one of my favorite black shows, Atlanta.
Atlanta.
Which I think you could argue was kind of like inspired from a lot of these 90s
shows.
Heck
yeah.
Only 13 episodes a season, and they haven't even started. They haven't even released season 3 yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, so keeping it on black shows from the 90s, right? We talked about Fresh Prince, Martin. Now let's go Wayne's Brothers, man. Like Wayne's Brothers, we talked about that entrepreneurial spirit, right?
We're talking about. Okay, let's just start off. Let me just say, I think out of all these shows, man, the Wayne's Brothers to me is probably the funniest show.
I gotta agree with you.
The Fresh Prince is funny, Martin is funny, but the Wayne's Brothers, oh my,
But the thing about the Wayne's Brothers though is like when you watch the Wayne's Brothers, you know they're making it up as they go along. They're making it up as they go along.
Improv, and that's why it's so funny. It's like it just seems like, damn, I want to hang out with these guys.
Yeah. And I was watching. There's a video. I think they were on Oprah. It was when the Wayne's Brothers were doing an interview on Oprah.
Yeah.
They were talking about their creative process.
Yeah.
They were saying like, okay, we'll be sitting, doing our own thing. Marlon would be in the back just chilling, and Marlon would just think of something. Oh, we should do this. Marlon was really like how Martin acted on the show.
Yeah, it's really how he
was.
Is.
Like according to the interview and how the brothers when they were talking about it. Like so with the Wayne's Brothers themes, like focusing on themes. Yeah. Family, like all of them are talking about family in different ways, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Fresh Prince, obviously, extended, traditional. Martin is more like the family that you choose. But then with
family,
you have Pops, right? The father. Pops. Sean and Marlon, the sons. Yeah. And even though like the actual mother isn't physically seen, she's referenced, but Dee kind of fills that motherly role in some ways.
But you can even take the perspective of this is a show that kind of showcased the father-son relationship.
Yeah,
really didn't showcase the mom.
At a time when people were talking about the absence of
the
black
fathers,
right? Right. That's true. And so I never really thought about that.
Yeah, me either. Like yeah, definitely. Until now,
the emphasis of black fathers and the role that they play in the lives of their children.
And I think that was a strategic move because of that. There wasn't a lot of talk about that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they did that. I'm glad they made that choice.
No, definitely. And so you have each of them, and going back to the following your dreams entrepreneurial spirit, right? Pops owned his own restaurant. Mm-hmm. He didn't work for anybody else. Yeah. He had his own restaurant. Even though they made fun of his food all the time, it was his own business. Right? Yep. He was doing that. And he was using his money to help Sean and Marlon pursue their dreams.
And even their job, what was their job? They worked for they worked at the newsstand, but it was their
I think in the first season, I'll be honest, the first season is a little murky for me because like the first 2 seasons were really rough.
Yeah.
And they were struggling. Like in the interviews, they'll tell you like the first season was hell for them.
Yeah.
And you could tell it wasn't the best. Like the budget was low. They were always in the diner. There wasn't really anything else. They didn't travel out. But when you get to like the 3rd, 4th, and 5th season,
they start
that's
going.
when they're like, oh, okay, we got this. We know what we're doing. So with the 3rd, I don't know if it started in the 2nd season, but Sean owns his own newsstand.
Okay.
And then Marlon is kind of coming into his own, and Marlon decides to pursue his own dream as an actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the entrepreneurial spirit and following your own passions and creating your own lane, like those are the major.
And then supporting each other because they always supported each other. They would dress up and they would pretend to be people for each other and pretend to be each other's agents and
it's I think of all the shows that we have mentioned and even of the shows that we will mention, Wayne's Brothers is really the most about family sacrifice. Sacrifice.
Definitely.
Because even do you remember the Temptones episode of the Wayne's Brothers?
Which one is that?
That's the episode where they flash back to when Pops had a band. It was supposed to be like a Motown band, like the Temptations, the Spinners, that type of band, right? Like Pops had his band, and he said in that episode, we could have made it big, but my goal was to take care of my family. I met a woman, I fell in love, and I wanted to take care of my family. Sacrifice. There's an episode where Marlon is part of a musical. He's doing a show, and Keith Sweat is in that episode.
Oh wow!
And the show, it runs low on funds. Like the stage manager runs off with the money. Sean and Pops donate some of their what they got from their business to keep the show going. And it's just throughout the episode, it's all about sacrifice. And not just sacrifice, but even maturity, especially on the part of Pops, or Sean and Marlon. Because do you remember the Jobs episode when Marlon was selling that malt liquor?
Oh,
do you remember that episode?
Yeah.
That episode, it's hilarious, but it also, it forced Marlon to realize, like, okay, what I do and say as a somebody in the media, especially as a black person, impacts my community.
Definitely.
So there's a lot of episodes in the Wayne's Brothers that focus on that. But even like going back to the comedy, right? Because the comedy is what really keeps us in it.
Definitely.
There's so many scenes in the show where you're watching them, you're like, that can't be in the script.
That's made up.
Yeah,
and where do you think they got that from? Think about it.
Well, they're comedians.
Well, they're comedians, but also where does their family come from? In living color,
right,
you know, that
sketch comedy,
improv. So
true.
And weren't they on that? I know they didn't have big roles on that.
Sean was more of a DJ. He was more of a DJ. I don't think he did a lot of the skits. He might have done a few.
Yeah.
I remember Marlon did more of the skits. They did do skits.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, they went into parody movies. Yeah. Like, I'm gonna get you, sucker.
Yeah. So if you think about it, their whole career is kind of based off of that.
Improv.
Yeah, you know.
Absolutely. There's a bunch, but one scene that really stood out to me was when it's the episode where Sean is struggling with his relationship anxiety, and Dee is reading she's reading one of those surveys. Yeah. And she asks Sean, "Do you believe that chivalry is dead?" And the camera, Marlon just breaks. He says, "Little chivalry is dead." Like he said, like chivalry is a person. Yeah. He said, "Little chivalry is dead." And like in the corner of the camera, you see Sean fall out. Like he has to keep his composure. Right.
Next question: do you think chivalry is dead?
Little chivalry is dead. Little chivalry from 125th Street is dead.
And it's like, little chivalry is dead.
So you know that wasn't planned.
That was not planned.
It
couldn't have been.
Yeah.
It could not have been. The way Sean reacted, because like that's his brother.
That's his brother. He
knows
his
Marlon.
brother.
Yeah,
Like,
he knows Marlon.
Yeah.
So for Marlon to do that and then see Sean react the way it did, like you can tell that they're just having fun. Like it makes it even more enjoyable.
It was such a good show,
man.
Yeah.
Little chivalry is dead.
And then
chivalry from 152nd Street, and he said, "Why?" That was his thing to do. He would always, "What?" Or he'd be like, "Damn." Like,
or he would fall on the ground.
Yeah. But the thing is, Marlon was such. But people don't realize, like, Marlon was actually a really good actor. But he would always overact on that show. He would always overact.
But that made it.
What? Mama
But that made it. That was his thing, though. That was him, though. You know, that's what made it. But Marlon's a really good actor.
Yeah, and the energy from that he would bring to it, bouncing off of what Sean would say, is because Sean was obviously the straight man. Like, people, you can't disrespect Sean, though. Like,
you know, he had his comedy moments too.
Had his comedy, and you got to remember who were the writers on the show. Who were some of the writers?
Yeah,
Sean and Marlon.
I'm not gonna lie. One of the funniest scenes I've ever seen was when Sean is in White Chicks. When Sean, you seen White Chicks, right? Yeah. When he's in the house of what's his name's house with the girl.
Oh, Terry Crews.
Yeah, Terry Crews' house, and then the dog is about to bite him, and the girl was like, "Is that your dog?" He said, "That's not a dog. That's family." And his lip was shaking.
That's not no dog. That's family. Hey, cousin. Come here, boy.
His lip was shaking. I was like, that's actually really funny, man.
People disrespect Sean. Yeah. Like, people forget how funny he is.
Yeah.
Like, that whole family, they were just, that was their business.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Comedy was their business. Yeah. But it came from them growing up poor.
Yeah.
Right? And we're going to talk about this one maybe a later time. But that family in the 90s, they were killing it, right? Because they had the Wayans Brothers, they had Living Color, they had I'm Gonna Get You, Sucker, they had Don't Be a Menace in South Central. But a lot of people, I mentioned this to you, you didn't remember, or maybe you're too young, because I am a little older than you. They had a cartoon, Waynehead.
I forgot.
Damon Wayans had a cartoon about them growing up in New York, It was called Waynehead. But we'll touch on that a later time. Maybe when we talk about like black cartoons from the 90s or whatever. But that just goes to show like how funny that family was.
Here?
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah. The theme song, because it came on Kids WB.
Wow,
Yeah,
the Kids WB. I remember that.
There's an interview. I can't remember which interview it was, but Marlon was talking about how Sean and Marlon with the Wayans Brothers show kind of spearheaded that WB lineup from the 90s. It was them, and then they had a bunch of other shows, and it kind of was spearheaded by the Wayans Brothers show. And then you had Waynehead, which was another cartoon, and they even had it wasn't a spin-off, but I don't know if you remember White Mike. There's a character on the Wayans Brothers named White Mike.
Oh, White Mike, yeah.
He had a different show of his own that it wasn't a spin-off, but it kind of was springboarded or whatever you'd say from him being on the Wayans Brothers. He was Nick Freno licensed teacher or something like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of people don't really remember it.
Yeah.
White Mike had his own show
after
being on the Wayans Brothers. Unfortunately, he died really young, I think because of cancer.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so he didn't even get to live out his full career. And even Living Colors started a lot of other people's careers. Jamie Foxx, Jennifer Lopez, obviously the whole Wayans family, Jim Carrey, right?
Yeah.
A lot
Fire
of
Marshal Bill.
Fire Marshal Bill, right?
Yeah.
Like all these characters and actors that came out from the Wayans Brothers family, man, they were killing it.
Speaking of somebody we're probably going to get into pretty soon.
And Jamie Foxx is the next show that I would say we could put on this list for sure.
Definitely.
And Jamie Foxx, when you talk about the themes on that show were family bonds, both like the blood, right, and the ones that you choose. Because Jamie was coming out from like Texas to be with his aunt and uncle to pursue his dreams of being a musician and an actor, which was really true to life. It was autobiographical, right, in a lot of ways. And then he had his friends on the show, Braxton and Fancy.
Braxton represented that so-called whitewashed,
right,
the
uppity black guy, kind of like Carlton.
Yeah,
that was his foil, Jamie Foxx's foil, but also
Braxton.
His closest friend. Yeah, for sure.
Just like Carlton. Yeah,
just like Carlton. And I mean, another thing was following your dreams, because he came out from Texas, tried to become an actor and a singer. He really pursued that dream. He really stuck to it. And then there's the romance between him and Fancy. It wasn't as strong as Martin and Gina. Yeah. But it was still there. The humor was there. It was another show that I think was pretty iconic, and it came at the tail end. Like obviously, like we were saying earlier, you had in the early '90s, you had Martin, you had Fresh Prince, but then mid '90s to early 2000s, you had Wayans Brothers and even Jamie Foxx show.
Yeah. And also a lot of
but I think one of the things that I think we forgot to mention about all these black shows was just that representation, not just the representation, but also how these shows were instrumental in bringing hip hop to the forefront to TV. Because obviously Will Smith was a rapper, but he had Heavy D on his show. Queen Latifah was on the show, and from there Queen Latifah got her own show. You also had I can't remember the other artists that were on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but you had a lot of black celebrities. Quincy Jones was on an episode.
Oh yeah, Quincy Jones.
His production studio was what helped
get Will on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't miss the special 1 hour Fresh Prince of Bel-Air starring Quincy Jones, Kadeem Hardison, Malcolm Jamal Warner, Tyler Collins, Heavy D, Albie Shore, and my main man Bo Jackson.
Yo man, what's up with that? Why you say my name last?
Monday night, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air starring Bo Jackson, and Bo Jackson. Monday
was on it. Evander Holyfield was on an episode. There are a lot of black celebrities on it. There was and then on Martin, one of the most famous episodes had Notorious B.I.G.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Him and Biggie were small. Him and Biggie Smalls were friends growing up, and he brought him onto the show. I feel like there were other artists I can't remember.
I'm looking right now to see who David Allen Greer was on that show.
On which show?
This is all Martin right here. This is all Martin.
Well, again, he was also in Living Color. We were talking about how Living Colors or Wayans Brothers sprung a lot of other people's careers.
Exactly.
Like David Allen Greer was on Martin. And not just Martin. Obviously, there's Queen Latifah.
Tommy Davidson was on.
Davidson, yeah. And then might have played Jamie Foxx's, either a friend of Jamie Foxx or a cousin to Jamie Foxx in one episode.
Oh wow,
yeah, that's another prominent hip hop artist that
definitely
was on TV.
Well, not Will Smith, Martin Lawrence. He said in an interview that he represented hip hop culture. Yeah, so he wanted a lot of hip hop artists on his show.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then Jamie Foxx, being a musician, being a big part of hip hop today, right? It would only make sense for him to have artists on his show. And you had a lot of these black celebrities on shows. We talked again about representation. But if you look at a lot of these shows, they also often glamorize or even publicize a lot of HBCUs. Even though Martin didn't go to college, you would see him wearing black colleges on his show. I don't know if Fresh Prince did it, but I want to say. I want to say they did on an episode, but even if they weren't wearing like those HBCUs, they would have these shirts that said like "I be black man."
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that, right?
No, I actually don't, but yeah.
But there were episodes where they had that. I think it was Living Single that would wear
the
shirts,
different
HBCUs.
Yeah, definitely.
And I mean, from Jamie Foxx, we could take it to Living Single, right?
Yeah.
Living Single was another one of our top shows from the 90s. And the thing about Living Single that really made it different from the other shows was it gave us the black woman's perspective. Right, right. All of these black women that were successful. And obviously, you had the male characters, but they weren't the focal point. They were part of the cast.
Yeah. They were a side piece.
They were, they were side pieces.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you had topics like being successful black women, dating while black and successful.
Well, which makes it an interesting show because it comes from that perspective. When have you had a show that focuses on the woman's perspective, the black woman's perspective, and being single?
Right, and before that, I can't really. I mean, I might be mistaken, but I can't think of any show before that really made black women a focal point, right? I mean, I know that there's Living Single, and then later on in the later 90s, I think there was Girlfriends.
That
might have been early 2000s.
Yeah, I was like, later
90s. I wasn't really into that show. I didn't watch it as much as I watched Living Single.
Yeah.
But Living Single, you had successful black women. They were out there dating. Again, you have each woman on that show, or each character on that show represented a different.
You know what Living Single was?
What?
It was the black version of Friends.
No, that's controversial. No, that's controversial because some people will say that Friends is the white version of Living Single.
Oh,
Living Single
you're
came out before
right.
Friends.
You're right. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, Living Single came out before Friends.
Wow.
So I mean, you gotta be careful who you say that to. You can trigger some people.
Wow, you're right. I didn't even. Yeah. I didn't even think about. I thought you assume Friends comes out
because of how
popular. Exactly. Exactly.
No, definitely. And I mean, we didn't talk about it, but on the Wayans Brothers, remember Marlon was on a show called Everybody Loves Everybody that made fun of shows like Friends and Seinfeld.
Yep.
And even I think Everybody Loves Raymond because it kind of like blended the ideas of all those shows together in the name, like Everybody Loves Everybody.
Yeah.
But with Living Single, you had the representation of different black perspectives, even within that being of black women. Because you had Khadijah, who was played by Queen Latifah, who owned her own black news print, right? She was the editor-in-chief and the owner of it. Then you had Maxine, who was played by Erica Alexander. She was the black lawyer, right? Professional, successful lawyer.
Yep.
Then you had the soulful artist hippie, played by Kim Coles, who's Sinclair. That was Khadijah's cousin.
Yeah.
You had the stock broker, the finance guy, and Kyle, Terrence Carson, the bougie gold digger, Regine, played by Kim Fields, right? And the handyman, who always had those little nuggets of wisdom, played by
Let me ask you this,
John Henton. Yeah.
When you think they're creating this show, who do you think are the people behind the scenes creating the episodes?
I mean, okay, when you're talking about these writers,
because are these writers coming from this perspective? Are they white people?
It has to be a combination. It has to be a combination, definitely, because the humor. And see, you're kind of jumping even further ahead because I think I know where you're going with who writes it. Because a lot of these shows, when you talk about the humor, it's authentically black.
It has to be.
The humor is authentically black.
But I know it can't be all black people in that writing.
Oh no! Obviously, there are definitely some white writers. Yeah. I wish that I could say who they were. I don't know the names off the top of my head. Yeah. But you know that these writers went on to do things with other shows that are still on today.
Well, I'm just saying, the only reason I asked is because it just seems so natural. Like shows like this and like Jamie Foxx show and Martin, just seems like the jokes come flow so naturally. Like like they just improv. But I know they have to. It all makes sense.
They probably also have white writers that are familiar with the black experience, though.
Could be.
Right? You probably have white writers that grew up around black people and have an understanding of the black experience. Yeah. And that's where you have people that write about it with a sense of cultural understanding, cultural sensitivity, right?
Definitely.
And we're not through our top list, but I think you're jumping the gun to Family Matters, right? Yeah. You have a show like Family Matters, which I would say is an honorable mention for black shows from the 90s. But when you look at the humor and the writing, it didn't feel authentically black.
Yeah, it
felt was like, funny. I love it. It's one of my favorite shows, definitely. Yeah. but the humor and just the timing, comedic timing, and they don't really reference blackness in Family Matters.
No, they did. They really just. It really seemed like a bunch of white writers came together and said, "This is what we think a black family is, and let's put this on screen." You know,
definitely.
So and it didn't feel as authentic as other shows.
Was still funny. I mean, you have iconic characters like Steve
Urkel,
right? In their episodes, because it was on TGIF.
Carl.
So there Carl Winslow. There were episodes where you had the crossover with Family Matters and Full House.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
But it just didn't really feel authentically
black.
But
that just shows you right there what type of target audience they were going.
Because it was TGIF.
Yeah.
And TGIF was one of the hottest blocks. So obviously the writing had to be from that, the white mainstream perspective.
Yeah.
And it had to be appealing to
but
the mainstream white audience.
Let me ask you this: is that why you think it's not as accepted in the black culture? Because it doesn't really.
I think it's still accepted, but it's just not seen as a black show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not as held to high esteem as the other shows.
Yeah, I think that's it. Because there was always something about Family Matters when I was a kid, before I had the critical thinking and reasoning skills that I have now. Like there's something that always seemed off about it. Because like if you're talking about a show from the black perspective, who is Urkel in the black community? Like you have more Carltons maybe, but no Urkels in the black community.
No, definitely no. What was his alter ego?
Stephon Arkell. No, but Stephon Arkell was cool though. Stephon Arkell was he was a cool brother,
But definitely how he switched,
But
even that theme of switching characters, because why did Urkel switch, right? Because didn't he switch to become Stephon to
impress
what's her name?
Laura.
Yeah. So just even that being comfortable with who you are,
definitely.
yourself.
And then in the end, and a lot of, for me, I remember as a kid, there was a time I forgot Family Matters was still going on because they switched networks from ABC to CBS.
Oh, okay.
And in the end, Laura ended up marrying Steven, not Stephon Arkell.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think
Urkel.
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 Married Urkel. Yeah. But it's funny again. Like that's probably one of the greatest shows. It's probably top 100 greatest TV shows of all time, but again, when you talk about is it really one of the, it's not.
Is it accepted as much in the black culture as it is in mainstream culture?
Definitely. So we still got Moesha.
Yeah.
Moesha was another show. The thing about Moesha was it talked about growth and maturity. It was a coming of age show,
definitely. From a young female perspective.
Yeah, another young black female perspective.
And in Los Angeles.
Yeah, in South. I think it was like South Central.
I think it was
she went to Crenshaw High School, and I mean, talking about bringing people onto the show that were significant to the culture.
Yeah.
Kobe Bryant, rest in peace, right?
Rest in peace.
Kobe Bryant was in an episode where he took her to his prom because she had tutored him.
Oh yeah,
and I think they actually brought in the story about him going pro. I don't know if he played himself, but he was like a basketball player, getting ready to either go to college or go to the draft. I mean, these are.
Was Ray J on the show?
Yeah, Ray J was.
I think Ray J was on the show.
And, okay, so the crazy way that they put Ray J into the show was Ray J was initially her cousin.
Okay,
but
you
then
finally
they found
brought
out
your
that the
son
dad had
home.
an
I
affair.
knew you'd do the right.
And Ray J was actually her half brother.
Okay.
So I remember, I was like, what?
This isn't how I wanted you to feel.
Like, y'all really reached.
Yeah, y'all reached
that's what
long arms for that one.
Yeah, but it worked out. And I mean, Ray J is, for better or for worse.
Oh my God.
Look, after you were born, my sister Sandy adopted you.
So does that mean Dorian's my brother?
Yeah, Miles, that's exactly what it means.
How long were you gonna wait before you told us? This is crazy.
Dorian, listen.
Dorian, man, wait up. You cheated on Mom?
Oh, baby, it was a long time ago.
No, yes and no. Did you cheat on my mother? You lied to me, to Mom?
Y'all really reached.
Yeah, y'all reached long arms for that one.
Yeah, but it worked out. And I mean, and Ray J is, for better or for worse, however you want to look at it, he is also a staple in hip hop culture. I mean, he's on the show Love and Hip Hop.
One wish.
Yeah. I mean,
definitely.
For real. And I mean, he also put on one of the most famous families in Hollywood.
Kardashians.
I mean, you could say he laid the foundation.
He was the catalyst.
He was the catalyst. He laid the pipes.
The groundwork.
Right? That sprung board that family into success.
Definitely.
Right? So, I mean, Kim Kardashian, who's she married to? Kanye West, one of the biggest hip hop artists today.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Ray J.
Definitely a correlation.
There's definitely a correlation.
Yeah.
You know, Ray J. Once again laid the pipes, or the foundation, right, for that family.
Yeah.
So we could talk about honorable mention. Yeah. I mean, you jumped into Family Matters. Yeah. I would say Sisters, another show that probably deserves honorable mention. Didn't really feel black when you watched it.
Yeah, I think because the network it was on. You know.
So I think and it had something to do with writing. Yeah. And you know, I like this topic a lot. I definitely want to come back to it because I feel like there are other shows that we might have missed.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And then
definitely.
there are definitely other honorable mentions that we.
Man, we can even take it back. We can take it back decades.
Yeah.
We can go decades by decades.
80s.
You know,
80s. You can talk about Cosby Show. You can talk about Good Times in the 70s, right? Like there are a lot of other ways. Sanford and Son, right?
Oh, definitely. That's like 70s.
Yeah, so we can even take it further back. Yeah. But we're gonna stop it with these shows for now. I mean, you know, black shows from the 90s that we really appreciate.
These shows definitely laid the groundwork for, like, you know, how black people or in entertainment kind of, you know, are treated nowadays.
Yeah,
you know,
definitely.
And kind of now take on the roles. You see a lot of black shows, you know, spearheaded by black
writers,
cast members, writers, directors,
all
producers.
That stuff. And a lot of them either were